We carry a lot with us. Memories, mistakes, fears, doubts, some visible, some hidden deep in our minds and hearts. And sometimes we don't even realize how heavy it all is. But here's the truth. Nothing you carry from yesterday can change the possibilities of tomorrow. The first step to freedom is simple. Just let it go. Let go of the anger. Let go of the resentment. Let go of the fear that has been quietly directing your decisions. Every time you cling to what is no longer serving you, you deny yourself the life you are capable of living. We all carry a past with us. Each of us has moments that we wish we could erase, decisions we regret, and experiences that left us feeling small, hurt, or defeated. It's human to remember the pain, the failure, and the disappointment, but what most people don't realize is that holding on to those memories doesn't protect us. It imprisons us. Every moment we spend clinging to what has already happened is a moment that we steal from our future. Every regret, every grudge, every only statement creates a weight that presses down on our minds, our hearts, and even our bodies. And yet, so many of us wear these burdens as if they define who we are. But here's the truth: your past is not your identity. Your past is merely the soil from which your growth can spring if you are willing to let go. Think for a moment about the mistakes you have made. Maybe it was a choice that hurt someone you love. Maybe it was a decision that cost you opportunities, relationships, or peace of mind. Maybe it was simply a moment of weakness, a time when you acted out of fear or doubt. Whatever it was, you cannot change it. You cannot rewrite the chapter once it is written. And yet, so many people continue to replay the scene over and over in their minds, hoping for a different ending that will never come. It's exhausting, isn't it? And it's unnecessary. The moment you allow yourself to release that mistake, you begin to free your mind. You begin to open space for growth, for understanding, and for opportunity. You see, mistakes are not failures. They are lessons waiting to be understood. They are invitations to evolve, to refine your character, and to choose differently in the future. But none of that can happen if you are still chained to what has already passed. Regret is another form of imprisonment. Regret says, I should have done this differently. I should have been stronger, smarter, or braver. Regret keeps you anchored in a version of yourself that no longer exists, preventing you from stepping fully into the person you are becoming. And here's the paradox: the more you dwell on regret, the more it grows, shaping your perception of yourself and your life in a negative way. But when you release it, something incredible happens. You stop punishing yourself. You stop reliving pain that no longer serves a purpose. And in that space, there is a quiet, powerful energy that allows you to dream again, to act again, to believe again. Resentment is another silent thief of joy. When someone has hurt you, intentionally or not, it is tempting to hold on to that pain as proof that life is unfair or that you are justified in your bitterness. But resentment is not a shield, it is a chain. It keeps you tied to someone else's actions, to something outside of your control. And while you are busy nursing that resentment, life passes you by. People continue to grow, opportunities continue to arise, and time, our most precious resource, moves forward without pause. By releasing resentment, by forgiving. Not necessarily for them, but for yourself. You reclaim your life. You step off the hamster wheel of anger and disappointment and open yourself to experiences that can truly transform you. Letting go is not easy. It requires courage. It requires self-compassion. It requires a willingness to confront your own vulnerability and your own humanity. And it requires understanding that holding on is not loyalty to yourself. It is a refusal to allow yourself to move forward. Growth is impossible while your energy is consumed by what has already been. Growth begins the moment you decide that your past will no longer define your present or dictate your future. It begins the moment you embrace the freedom of release. It begins the moment you say, I am done carrying this burden. I am choosing a new path. I am choosing myself. The act of releasing the past is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice. Every day presents an opportunity to examine the thoughts you are clinging to, the stories you are telling yourself about what went wrong or what you cannot do. And every day, you have the choice to release those thoughts, to rewrite the narrative in your mind, to see the lessons instead of the failures, to see the possibilities instead of the limitations. It is a practice of self-awareness, of mindfulness, and of intentionality. The more you practice, the lighter your mind becomes, the clearer your vision becomes, and the more room you create for the future you want to build. Imagine what your life would feel like if you carried no weight from the past. Imagine waking up each day with a sense of possibility rather than regret. Imagine stepping into every situation with openness, confidence, and clarity. Imagine relationships untainted by old grudges, decisions made from strength rather than fear, and a mind focused entirely on what you want to create rather than what you fear repeating. That is the life that is waiting for you on the other side of release. That is the life that begins the moment you let go of what no longer serves you. Every moment you hold on to your past is a moment you cannot fully live. Every memory you clutch tightly is a moment of energy wasted on what cannot be changed. Every regret, every resentment, every painful memory is a wall you build around yourself that blocks the abundance, peace, and growth that you deserve. And yet, all of that changes the moment you decide, truly decide, to release it. Because the power of your life is not in what has happened to you, but in what you choose to do with the life you have right now. Growth begins the moment you stop giving your power to what no longer matters, the moment you stop letting your history dictate your destiny, and the moment you let go of everything that has been holding you back. Every single day, you are thinking thousands of thoughts. Most of them pass unnoticed, like clouds drifting across a sky you barely see. But some thoughts stay, they linger, they echo, and they shape the way you see yourself, the world, and your possibilities. Your mind is one of the most powerful tools you have, and yet so many people use it unconsciously. They allow negative thoughts to take root, to grow, and to dictate how they feel, how they act, and what they believe they can achieve. These thoughts are like invisible anchors, tying you down, slowing your progress, and keeping you from the life you truly desire. And the incredible truth is this: you have the power to change it. You have the power to take control of your mind, to release what is holding you back, and to let your potential rise like it was always meant to. Think about it for a moment. How often have you told yourself, "I can't, I'm not enough," or "this will never work"? These thoughts are not reality. They are self-imposed limits. They are whispers of doubt that grow louder the longer you entertain them. But here's the thing. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what is true and what you believe to be true. If you constantly feed it negativity, it will create circumstances, choices, and outcomes that reflect that belief. If you feed it positivity, possibilities, and belief in your own capability, it will begin to attract and create experiences that match those thoughts. Everything begins in the mind. Everything starts with what you allow yourself to think. Negative thoughts are insidious because they feel natural. They feel justified. Sometimes they even feel like protection, like a shield keeping you from failure or disappointment. But in reality, they are chains. They are heavy weights that prevent your mind from seeing opportunity, from embracing creativity, and from acting with courage. Every time you think, "I can't do this," or "I will never be able to achieve that," you are not just telling your mind a story. You are telling the universe. You are programming yourself to stop before you even begin. And the sad truth is that most people never realize how much of their life has been dictated by thoughts that were never true, by fears that never materialized, by doubts that could have been replaced by belief. Controlling your thoughts doesn't mean ignoring reality. It doesn't mean pretending that challenges don't exist or that failures won't happen. It means choosing which thoughts you nurture and which thoughts you release. It means recognizing that your mind is like a garden. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and worry, that is what will grow. If you plant seeds of confidence, faith, and possibility, that is what will flourish. And just as a gardener weeds their garden, you must weed your mind. You must become aware of the negative thoughts that creep in, acknowledge them, and consciously release them. You must decide moment by moment which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones will hold you back. Imagine a life where your thoughts are aligned with your potential. Imagine waking up each morning with a mind that immediately looks for solutions, that sees opportunities, and that believes without hesitation that you can achieve more than you ever imagined. Imagine the energy that would come from no longer wasting mental power on fear, doubt, and comparison. This is not a dream. This is a reality available to everyone who takes control of their thinking. The mind is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. The more you feed it empowering thoughts, the more naturally you will act, create, and attract the life you want. The process of controlling your thoughts requires self-awareness. It requires pause, reflection, and the courage to confront the patterns you have carried for years, sometimes decades. It requires the willingness to catch yourself in the moment a negative thought arises and to say, "No, I will not give this thought power over me. I will replace it with something better. I will focus on possibility, on abundance, on growth." And the more you practice this, the more automatic it becomes. Over time, your mind becomes an ally rather than an adversary, a source of power rather than a source of limitation. It's also important to understand that releasing negative thoughts is not about suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It's about acknowledging them, understanding why they are there, and then consciously letting them go. Every time you do this, you expand your mental capacity. Every time you let go of doubt, fear, or judgment, you allow your natural potential to rise higher. You create mental space for clarity, creativity, and inspiration. You create a mental environment where success, abundance, and happiness are not just possibilities, they are inevitable outcomes. Your thoughts shape your reality more than any external circumstance ever can. What you think today becomes what you experience tomorrow. What you focus on expands. If you focus on limitation, scarcity, and impossibility, those are the results you will see. But if you focus on growth, on belief, and on your ability to overcome, you begin to experience opportunities and solutions that were always within reach, but invisible to a mind clouded by negativity. The mind is not just a tool. It is the very engine of your life. And when you take control of it, when you release the anchors that hold you back, your potential has no ceiling. Change is one of the few certainties in life. From the moment we are born, everything is in motion. Our bodies grow, our minds evolve, circumstances shift, and the world around us never stops transforming. And yet, so many people spend their lives resisting change. They cling to the familiar, to routines, to people, to situations that no longer serve them. They try to maintain control over a life that, by its very nature, is uncontrollable, and in resisting change, they create unnecessary struggle, stress, and limitation. But here's the powerful truth: change is not your enemy. Change is not something to fear or fight against. Change is the pathway to growth, to freedom, to opportunity, and to the life you are meant to live. Imagine for a moment the times in your life when change arrived unexpectedly. Perhaps it was a new job, a move to a different city, the end of a relationship, or an unexpected challenge. At first, it may have felt uncomfortable, even painful. You may have questioned why it was happening, why you had to go through it, or how you could possibly manage it. That initial resistance is natural because our minds are wired to seek comfort and familiarity. But think about what happened after that resistance faded, after you adjusted, after you allowed yourself to move with the flow rather than against it. Often, those moments of change bring some of the greatest growth, opportunities, and transformation you will ever experience. Change forces you to evolve. It pushes you beyond the boundaries of who you were yesterday and opens doors to who you can become tomorrow. Resisting it keeps you stagnant, keeps you trapped in patterns, keeps you living a life that is smaller than your potential. But when you embrace change, when you allow life to flow rather than forcing it to stay the same, incredible things begin to happen. You discover strengths you never knew you had. You learn lessons that would have been impossible to learn otherwise. You meet people who shape your journey in unexpected ways. And you find opportunities in places you would have never looked if you had stayed comfortable and rigid. The first step to embracing change is mindset. It is about recognizing that change is not punishment or misfortune. It is a natural part of life's rhythm. It is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens for you. Every shift, every challenge, every new chapter is an invitation to step into your power to grow and to create something better. And when you see change through this lens, fear begins to lose its grip. Uncertainty becomes a canvas for possibility, and the unknown transforms from a threat into an adventure. It is also important to understand that change is rarely instantaneous. It comes in layers, in moments, in small adjustments that accumulate over time. Sometimes it arrives gently, nudging you toward a new direction. Other times it comes forcefully, shaking the foundation of your life and demanding immediate attention. No matter how it arrives, the key is to meet it with openness rather than resistance. The moment you resist, the struggle intensifies. The moment you allow, the flow begins. Resistance is like swimming upstream in a river of life, while allowing change is like floating with the current toward places that you could never have reached by swimming alone. Letting go is central to embracing change. Letting go of old habits, old beliefs, old fears, and even old identities is what creates space for new growth. Too often, we hold on to what is familiar because we are afraid of losing ourselves or because we fear the unknown. But true growth requires the courage to release what no longer serves you. When you let go, you make room for transformation. You make space for experiences that are more aligned with your purpose, more aligned with your potential, and more aligned with the life you truly desire. One of the most profound aspects of embracing change is understanding that it is not linear. Life rarely unfolds exactly as we plan. Change often comes disguised as challenges, detours, or disruptions. And yet, these are often the very experiences that lead us to breakthroughs, to discoveries, and to outcomes far beyond what we could have imagined. When we resist, we fight against the very force that could propel us into greater clarity, opportunity, and fulfillment. But when we embrace it, we open ourselves to possibilities that are bigger than our imagination. It is also important to recognize that embracing change requires trust. Trust in yourself, in life, and in the timing of the universe. It requires faith that even if the path is unclear, the destination holds something valuable. Trust does not mean passivity. It means active engagement with life while letting go of the illusion of total control. It means taking steps forward, learning as you go, and adjusting as needed without clinging to what is already gone or what you cannot change. Every successful person, every person who has achieved growth and fulfillment has learned to embrace change. They have learned to release resistance and step into the unknown with courage. They understand that life is not about controlling every outcome, but about responding with flexibility, resilience, and a willingness to learn. They understand that the flow of life carries them toward experiences, relationships, and opportunities that are far greater than what they could have orchestrated if they had remained rigid. Embracing change transforms not only circumstances, but also the mind and the spirit. It creates adaptability, confidence, and resilience. It teaches lessons that no amount of planning could ever provide. It creates depth of character, wisdom, and the ability to see opportunity where others see obstacles. And the moment you begin to welcome change rather than resist it, the heaviness of struggle lifts. You move more freely. You act more decisively. You dream more boldly. And you discover that life, in all its unpredictability, is actually conspiring to help you grow, evolve, and step into a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more capable than you ever imagined. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood and most powerful acts a human being can perform. For many, forgiveness is associated with excusing someone else's behavior, condoning injustice, or pretending that the hurt never happened. And because of this misconception, people often resist forgiveness, thinking that holding on to anger, resentment, or grudges will somehow protect them, give them justice, or make them stronger. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Holding on to resentment and refusing to forgive does not punish the person who hurt you. It punishes you. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of emotional imprisonment, tying you to pain, anger, and suffering that is entirely within your control to release. Forgiveness, then, is not about them. It is about you. It is about reclaiming your freedom, your peace, and your power. Think for a moment about the emotional weight you carry. Think about the grudges, the betrayals, the disappointments, and the moments when someone let you down. Every time you revisit these moments in your mind, you add another layer of weight to your shoulders. Every time you replay the story of someone else's wrongdoing, you give them power over your emotions. And yet, all of this is completely unnecessary. You have the ability in this very moment to let go of the power you have unconsciously handed over to them. You have the ability to release the burden that has been limiting your happiness, your energy, and your growth. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is not approval of what was done. True forgiveness is an act of courage, strength, and clarity. It is the conscious choice to stop reliving pain, to stop reacting to old wounds, and to step into a life of freedom. When you forgive, you take your power back. You no longer allow the past to dictate how you feel, how you think, or how you act in the present. You stop being a prisoner of someone else's actions, and you begin to live life on your own terms. The process of forgiveness begins within. It begins with a decision to stop feeding the narrative of victimhood, to stop reliving the injustice, and to stop defining yourself by the pain inflicted by others. It begins with an understanding that life is imperfect, that people are flawed, and that mistakes, intentional or not, are part of the human experience. When you internalize this truth, you can step back from the emotion and choose a higher response. You can choose to release anger, resentment, and bitterness, and to replace them with understanding, compassion, and peace. Forgiveness also requires self-compassion. Many people resist forgiving because they feel it means excusing the other person, but in reality, it means excusing yourself from carrying the weight of the pain. It is about saying, I will no longer let this hurt control me. I will no longer let my happiness depend on someone else's actions. I will no longer define my worth or my peace by what has been done to me. Self-compassion allows you to recognize that it is okay to have been hurt. It is okay to feel anger, and it is okay to take the time to process the pain. But it also allows you to see that continuing to hold on to it is a choice, and it is a choice that keeps you stuck. Forgiveness is transformative because it changes your internal state, which inevitably changes your external reality. When you let go of grudges, you release energy that was being trapped in anger and resentment. That energy is then available for creativity, productivity, joy, and love. When you forgive, your mind is clearer, your heart is lighter, and your relationships, both old and new, become healthier. You create space for growth and abundance that was impossible to access while carrying the weight of resentment. It is also important to understand that forgiveness does not require confrontation or reconciliation. You can forgive without returning to a situation or without re-establishing trust with the person who hurt you. Forgiveness is internal, personal, and entirely within your control. You do not need their apology, acknowledgement, or understanding. You do not need their permission to release yourself from emotional bondage. All that is required is your willingness to choose freedom over suffering, peace over anger, and growth over stagnation. Forgiveness is a practice, not a one-time event. It may take time, reflection, and repeated effort to fully release the emotional grip of past hurts. Sometimes the pain is deep and the wounds are old. But even small steps toward forgiveness, choosing to let go of one grudge, one resentment, or one negative thought, begin to lighten the load. Every act of forgiveness creates momentum. Every release creates freedom. And every choice to let go strengthens your ability to live without being controlled by the past. Consider the life you could live if forgiveness became a habit. Imagine the mental and emotional space you would create if old hurts no longer dominated your thoughts. Imagine the relationships you could cultivate, the opportunities you could embrace, and the joy you could experience if your energy was no longer consumed by resentment. Forgiveness allows you to step fully into the present, unburdened by the past, and to embrace the possibilities of the future with clarity, confidence, and peace. Every time you forgive, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was lost to anger, bitterness, or hurt. Every time you let go of resentment, you expand your capacity to love, to grow, and to thrive. Every time you release a grudge, you open the door to a life of emotional freedom and inner peace, a life where your happiness is no longer contingent on what others have done or failed to do. Abundance is not just a concept. It is a way of thinking, a mindset that shapes the way we experience life, the opportunities we see, and the success we create. Yet so many people operate from a place of lack, from a belief that there is never enough, that opportunities are scarce, and that happiness must be earned or rationed. Scarcity thinking keeps the mind focused on what is missing, what is unattainable, and what has been lost, and it has a way of limiting potential, constraining creativity, and dimming the energy we bring to the world. The shift from scarcity to abundance is not about acquiring more. It is about perceiving differently. It is about understanding that life is full, that resources are plentiful, and that opportunity, joy, and success are not limited to a few. When you release scarcity thinking, you open a door to a life that is larger, fuller, and more rewarding than you ever imagined. Consider the way scarcity thinking shows up in daily life. It may appear as worry about money, fear of missing out, jealousy of others' success, or a constant need for validation. It may appear as hesitation, indecision, or avoidance of risk because the mind is convinced that there is never enough to go around. Scarcity creates anxiety, stress, and a constant feeling of inadequacy. It forces people to hoard their time, energy, and resources, believing that giving or sharing will leave them with less. And yet, the paradox is this: the more we operate from lack, the less we attract. The more we focus on what we don't have, the more invisible the opportunities become. The more closed the doors appear, and the more distant our dreams feel. Abundance thinking is a radical shift. It begins with the awareness that the universe, or life itself, is not limited. Opportunities are not finite. Possibilities are not capped. Creativity, ideas, and potential are limitless. Abundance thinking shifts your focus from fear to possibility, from limitation to expansion, and from competition to collaboration. It transforms your mind from a place of scarcity to a place of growth. When you focus on abundance, you start to notice opportunities that were always present but hidden behind the lens of lack. You begin to see solutions rather than problems, gifts rather than losses, and doors instead of walls. One of the keys to embracing abundance is gratitude. Gratitude is the lens through which abundance becomes visible. When you focus on what you already have, when you recognize the blessings in your life, big or small, you begin to shift your mindset. You begin to see that even in moments of challenge, resources exist. Even in moments of uncertainty, possibility exists. Gratitude is not about ignoring what is missing. It is about appreciating the value and potential that is already present. It is the bridge between scarcity and abundance, between limitation and liberation, between fear and faith. Another essential element of abundance thinking is generosity. The mind that believes there is enough to share is one that is never truly depleted. When you operate from abundance, giving becomes natural. Whether it is giving your time, your knowledge, your energy, or your resources, generosity multiplies rather than diminishes. Every act of giving reinforces the belief that life is abundant, that opportunities are limitless, and that success is not a zero-sum game. Scarcity thinking convinces us that sharing will leave us empty, but abundance thinking teaches us that the more we give, the more we receive, and the more doors open for growth and fulfillment. Abundance thinking also requires a conscious focus on opportunity rather than obstacle. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and moments that test our patience, resilience, and courage. Scarcity thinking magnifies these obstacles, convincing the mind that they are insurmountable, that resources are limited, and that failure is inevitable. Abundance thinking, however, sees challenges as opportunities for growth, learning, and expansion. It sees problems as invitations to innovate, to stretch, and to rise. It sees setbacks not as proof of limitation, but as signals to adjust, to persist, and to reach higher. The practice of focusing on abundance is a daily discipline. It requires awareness, repetition, and deliberate effort. Every time you catch yourself thinking, "I don't have enough," or "this is impossible," you have the chance to redirect your focus. Replace those thoughts with questions like, "What opportunities exist here?" Or statements like, "I have everything I need to succeed." This conscious redirection trains your mind to look for possibilities, to notice resources, and to create solutions. Over time, the mind that once focused on lack begins to operate naturally in a state of abundance, attracting people, opportunities, and experiences that reflect that mindset. Focusing on abundance changes not only your external reality, but also your internal experience. It reduces fear, it increases confidence, and it strengthens resilience. It allows you to act decisively because you are no longer constrained by worry or doubt. It allows you to embrace risk, innovation, and creativity because you believe that resources, support, and opportunities exist. It allows you to build stronger relationships because you are not threatened by others' success, but inspired by it. It allows you to dream bigger, act bolder, and step into a life that is expansive, fulfilling, and deeply rewarding. Scarcity thinking is a habit, and like any habit, it can be replaced. Abundance thinking is a conscious choice, a mindset, and a practice that grows stronger every time you exercise it. The more you focus on what is possible rather than what is missing, the more opportunities appear. The more you act with the belief that life is abundant, the more abundance flows into your life. The more you cultivate gratitude, generosity, and opportunity, the more naturally your mind attracts success, joy, and fulfillment. When you release scarcity, you step into the reality that life is vast, full of possibilities, and more generous than you have allowed yourself to believe. Faith is one of the most powerful forces a human being can harness, yet it is often misunderstood. Many think of faith as passive, something that waits quietly for life to deliver what it promises. But true faith is anything but passive. True faith is active, deliberate, and courageous. It is a conscious decision to trust in life's possibilities, to move forward despite uncertainty, and to act even when the outcome is unknown. Fear, on the other hand, is paralyzing. Fear keeps us frozen, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes, waiting for certainty in a world where certainty is an illusion. And the truth is, you cannot live fully if fear is the driver of your choices. The key to living a life of purpose, growth, and abundance is learning to act with faith, not fear. Think for a moment about what fear really is. Fear is an illusion created by the mind, a projection of what could go wrong, a story told by the imagination of what might happen if you take a step forward. It is natural and it is human, but it is also deceptive. Fear convinces you that inaction is safer, that waiting will protect you, and that uncertainty is a threat rather than an opportunity. But in reality, fear is a barrier. It keeps you from taking risks that could change your life. It keeps you from embracing opportunities that could bring growth, abundance, and fulfillment. It keeps you tethered to the familiar, even when the familiar no longer serves you. Faith, in contrast, is the recognition that life is full of possibilities, even when you cannot see them clearly. Faith is the decision to believe in yourself, in your abilities, and in the unseen opportunities that exist just beyond the horizon. Acting with faith does not mean ignoring the challenges, the risks, or the uncertainty. It means acknowledging them and choosing to move forward anyway. It is a declaration to the universe and to yourself that you will not be held back by doubt, hesitation, or fear. It is the bridge between where you are now and where you are meant to be, and every step you take on that bridge strengthens your courage and your belief in possibility. Letting go is central to acting with faith. Often, we cling to control, certainty, and predictability because we fear what will happen if we release our grip. But letting go is not a surrender to passivity. It is an active choice to trust that life has the resources, the opportunities, and the answers that we cannot yet see. Letting go allows you to step forward with confidence, even when the path is unclear. It allows you to take action without the burden of trying to control every outcome. And it allows you to experience life fully without the chains of doubt or hesitation holding you back. Faith is cultivated through experience, awareness, and repetition. Every time you act despite fear, every time you step forward into the unknown, you strengthen your capacity to trust life. Every time you take a risk, pursue a goal, or embrace change with courage, you reinforce the understanding that you are capable of more than you imagined. Fear may never disappear entirely. It is part of being human, but its power diminishes the more you practice acting with faith. Each action taken in faith creates momentum, and momentum generates confidence, clarity, and resilience. One of the most powerful aspects of acting with faith is the alignment it creates with your purpose. When you operate from fear, your decisions are reactive, cautious, and limited. You avoid challenges, settle for less, and miss opportunities because the mind is focused on what could go wrong. When you act with faith, your decisions are proactive, courageous, and expansive. You begin to move in the direction of your highest potential. You see possibilities where others see obstacles. You take inspired action rather than hesitant action. And the life you build is no longer dictated by what scares you, but by what excites, inspires, and fulfills you. Faith also transforms your inner dialogue. Fear whispers that you are not ready, that you are not capable, that you might fail. Faith speaks a different language. It reminds you of your strength, your resilience, and your ability to learn and grow. Faith reminds you that failure is not final, that challenges are temporary, and that every step forward is progress, no matter how uncertain it may feel. Faith teaches you to trust yourself, even when the path is unclear, and to believe in the invisible forces that guide growth, opportunity, and abundance. Living a life of faith requires courage. It requires the willingness to face uncertainty, to embrace discomfort, and to take action even when the outcome is unknown. Courage and faith are inseparable because every act of courage is an act of faith in yourself and in life. Each time you choose action over hesitation, each time you choose growth over comfort, each time you choose possibility over doubt, you expand your capacity to create a life that is extraordinary. Faith also invites patience and persistence. Acting in faith does not guarantee immediate results. Sometimes the path is long, the process is difficult, and the outcomes are delayed. But persistence in faith strengthens character, builds resilience, and aligns you with opportunities that could never have been accessed through fear. It teaches you to trust timing, to embrace the journey, and to remain committed to your vision even when the road is unclear or challenging. When you act with faith instead of fear, you step into your personal power. You stop being a passive observer of life and become an active creator of your experience. You take responsibility for your choices, your mindset, and your actions. You move forward with clarity, courage, and confidence. You embrace uncertainty not as a threat, but as a canvas of possibility. And every step you take reinforces the truth that faith is not a passive wish. It is a deliberate, powerful, and transformative force that allows you to rise above doubt, limitation, and fear. So today, I challenge you, look at what you are holding on to that is weighing you down. Ask yourself, does this serve me? Does this bring me joy? If not, let it go. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. Because in the moment you let go, you create room for alignment, clarity, and endless possibilities. Your future is not determined by your past. Your power is in this very moment. Take a deep breath, release, and step forward into the life you are meant to live. Just let it go.